So bear with me. So I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to hit it this end first, not hard, until I can rotate this up. Back and forth, rotating it like so. Look at there. A lot of it has to do with the shape of the metal you're getting ready to polish. Going back to the trigger guard area here, it's flat this way, but it's rounded this way and in here. So I'm at an angle there.
Hi, and welcome to Over the Gunsmith's Shoulder. I'm Gene Kelly, president of the American Gunsmithing Institute, and in this segment, Master Gunsmith Ken Brooks is going to walk you step by step through a gunsmithing repair. You're going to learn a lot. And if you'd like to learn to be a certified professional gunsmith, then go to AmericanGunsmithingInstitute.com and request an information package. Now let's learn from Ken.
Okay, we're over here and set up at the Vise, and let's talk a little bit about some of the tools that I use. Sandpaper, files, Foredom. That's pretty much it. The buffer lasts a little bit, but honestly, even in my metal prep, I don't use the buffer very often. Doing a smooth and tune on something where something's got to be really super slick, Smith & Wesson revolvers where the internal parts got to be real smooth and glide across one another. Yeah, the buffer, but on my metal prep, I don't use a whole lot of buffers. Again, I don't do a lot of bluing in the shop, but I do get things ready for the bluer often. So the file is the big one, right? And I only use it for half of the work, but I use it as a backing tool. So if I've got lots of rust pits, gouges, scratches, things of that nature, I can use the file to take those out. But then what I find that I use this every single day, no kidding, every single day. I use a file with sandpaper, and the file is the backing. Gives me a nice rigid surface. Now I'm going to go down here to the vise real quick. So backing for the sandpaper. So now I got a nice flat. So now when I'm polishing that, obviously, I just did a quick little go, but it's flat. Where I polished is flat, and I can see now, and I think you guys can too, here's a low spot because it's dark. Here's a couple hammer marks. So if I was going to blue this or be preparing this for bluing, whatever it happens to be, I need to continue to polish that. Now, obviously, filing would be the first step. I just wanted to show you that sandpaper. So now I'm going to go back and use the file. And I don't want to do a lot of rocking because I don't want that arched. See that? Those marks are quite a bit less. So filed them out. Now I would go through the various grits of sandpaper, 80 grit, 100 grit, 120 grit. This happens to be 120 grit. Keeps moving in my vise on me. Be careful of that. When you rip the sandpaper too, the file can move through and scratch the metal. It sucks when you've gone through all the grits, you're on 400 grit and you're using your file and it tears through and you put a scratch in it. You just got to redo it, but still sucks. So just be conscious of what's going on. So again, 120. Actually, I think that's 122. Here's some, I don't know, 320. So now, like I said, 320. Now, obviously, I'm not prepping this for any kind of, this is just an example piece of an old wrecked magazine. All right. So a couple things to be aware of. I kept it flat, so I'm not rounded. I'm not filing this direction. I'm not saying that you never will, but on something like this, I want to file and then sand in this direction. If I file or sand in this direction and then this direction, you end up with a crosshatch looking, and you just doubled your work, because now you got to sand out all the scratch marks depending on which way you want the final finish. Now, on parts like this that are lengthwise, I want to polish them in this way, in straight alignment with the barrel. So if I sand it this way and I want all my sanding marks to be this direction, I have to turn around and stop and sand this even more to remove the crosshatch sanding scratches from the sandpaper. So anyhow, all right, so as you can see, along this edge is nice and crisp and sharp. It's not rounded. We don't want rounded. We want nice, sharp, straight edges. Also, right at this edge, it was, when I first started, we had that dark area where the bluing remained. So we weren't completely uniform. We had a low area. There were also those two big marks up here that I've sanded, filed, sanded, polished out to where now, even though this is just roughly sanded, it looks so much better than it did. So as you continue to go down through the grits or continue to remove, right, you got a little blemish there, I got a stake mark there, I got a little rust pit or something right there. Again, it's just an example, but you just keep going until those are removed. Or if you had to weld it up, again, the process is still the same to polish and sand. You just go through the grits till you get down to what you like, 400, 500, whatever it happens to be. So again, pretty simple. But the big one is using something, and you don't have to use a file. You can use a piece of wood, you can use a hard piece of rubber. I like the file because A, I have them, I'm using them all the time anyhow. You grab it, it's rigid, I can hold on to it, and I can really get good control with it. Wood will get damaged over time, as will the rubber. The rubber will follow more of the unevenness of the metal, whereas this won't. But again, each person's a little different, and I do have a little rubber block that I use for things from time to time. So that's the first one, is a file and sandpaper. The next one is still sandpaper, but now we got a Foredom. So a lot of it has to do with the shape of the metal you're getting ready to polish. Obviously up here, I used a flat file and the sandpaper, and I would. That's exactly what I would do. Going back to the trigger guard area here, it's flat this way, but it's rounded this way and in here. Trigger guards. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen Winchester 94 lever actions or Mauser trigger guards or trigger guards of whatever, where somebody, they look at it and they go, I can't polish that. Well, this is how I do it. I'm not, once again, I'm not saying it's the best. This is what works for me. I'm trying to kickstart you guys' thinking juices, right? Get you guys thinking. So this is what I use. Now, if I got it crooked, and I'm gonna spin this around. So if I got it crooked like this, obviously I'm gonna be polishing just on this edge, not over here. So when I go, and I'm doing this on the inside because that's predominantly where I use this method. As I start to sand, I'm going to be able to tell, well, hey, I'm polishing over here and I'm not on the other side. So I'm going to rock this up until I get good and even. Coming back here so you guys can see. So I'm at an angle there. And then flip it over and you can do the inside here as well. This is just an example. Now, this does have its drawbacks. I know some people are like, oh my word, what happens when it starts jumping? You're gonna get that washboard effect on there. Absolutely, absolutely. So go slow, be careful. And so people are saying, well, that's a Foredom, it's not slow. Well, you can change the speed. Now, if I stop and just go right there, yeah, am I gonna make a groove? Absolutely. So use your head. So that was, what was that, 120? So this is 320. So now the inside of your Winchester 94 lever, Savage 99 lever, trigger guards of whatever, you can polish out those rust pits. You can clean them up. Same thing here on the outside. Now imagine, we don't have to imagine, we've got it. I was going to say, imagine you need to do in here. I can take and add sandpaper or take sandpaper away to get a larger or a smaller radius. So a larger, this one actually has too big of a radius. So what I will actually be doing is it's going to be cutting a groove here and back over here and not touching down in the middle. So I would change that real quick. And this is, again, for production blue or production work. You know, the guy's paying you, $50,000 to build him a sporterized Mauser 98. Yeah, you're going to be hand polishing this guy. Come on now. But you can see how I can match that contour. I can get inside here. I flip this over. I can do inside here. Again, I'm a production blue type. We do general repair. So production blue, I'm not too worried about the side of the magazine box, right? Because it's going to be in the stock. You're not going to see it. So I don't worry about it too much. Same thing with the inside of the trigger guard here. Not too much. Now, I got one more thing I want to talk about and show you. And it has to do specifically with, say, not specifically floor plates, but this type of thing. And this is going to be using the 1-inch belt. These floor plates, this is an old military Mauser floor plate, are almost always uneven. They got somebody stamped letters in them. People stamp their name, social security number, whatever. They're all beat, bent up. They've been dropped. They got dings and dents. We want this to be, if we can, one facet across that whole thing. Now, it's rounded this way, yes, but we want to maintain a straight plane from here to here, even though it's rounded this direction. So I do use power for this. I will go over to the 1-inch belt, which I'm going to show you in just a moment, and I can hold on to it here, and I can rest my fingers here or push on the bottom here, put it against the backing, and go like this as the sandpapers run this way. Let me get set up and we'll show you. So right here we have a nice straight firm backing. And when I turn this on, it's going to make a lot of noise, so I don't know if you'll be able to hear me, but I'm going to come in. Now, the one I have in the shop, this is actually in the classroom. This backing is about this tall, so I can do the whole surface of a floor plate. On this one, I'm limited. My plate here it limits how far down I can go, so I can only get part of this. So this is going to be a half-assed affair, if you will. So bear with me. So I'm going to go in, and I'm actually going to hit it this end first, not hard, until I can rotate this up. Back and forth, rotating it like so. Look at there. This is exactly what I wanted to show. We're touching hard up here, we're touching hard here. Look at our big low spots, right? Totally uneven. So if you were to take a rubber backing sandpaper and sand this, it's going to follow high, low, higher, low, higher yet, round over on the edges. It's not going to look as well as it should. Now, could you utilize the vise like I just showed you with a file and file this flat? Yeah, sure. But your file, remember your file, as I come across high spot, low spot, it's going to dip down into it to some degree because that's so big. It's not going to dip down into that little scratch there. It'll take that scratch out, but you're not going to be completely straight this way. And that's where this comes into play. I can make that completely flat all the way across. And then the final sanding, this is pretty coarse, And you can go through the belt the sander that we normally use. I can swap the belts out relatively fast. So I can go to smoother ones, finer grit, sandpaper, and then I go to the vise and I do the final polish by hand. But this gets out all this waviness, makes it one complete facet from here to here, rounded of course. So this is good because this shows what I'm trying to explain. None of them are even. We want nice, straight, flat edges and then sand in one direction. Now if I turn around, okay, look. Now I've got sand marks this way and this way. It looks like crap, right? So don't do that. Don't polish it lengthwise and then clamp it in a vise and shoe shine it. You know, it's going to look bad. Let me try and clean that up for a minute. And it looks like it actually did clean up pretty well. I got a couple scratches right in there still, going that way. And you can see that I'm starting to scrape off some of the rust here on the top here, but not here. Not there. Now you're limited obviously on how deep you can go, but most of the time there's plenty of material here to get through that. So somebody specifically asked for this. Man, I wish you'd show us how you polish. Well, this is kind of how I do it. These are a couple of the methods, to get you to think about it. I've had people send me bluing back. Now I'm going back years and years and years. We sent something off for a bluer and he did a half-assed job. It was poor. It was a magazine tube on a Winchester 92. Pretty rough. It was rough. It was. And customer wanted his original 92 re-blued. So we did half the prep and some of it I don't do. So we sent it off and the bluer sent it. And I'm talking, this is 20 plus years ago. And the guy did a poor job on the magazine tube, sent it back, and we were like, dude, called him up, hey, we're gonna have to send this back, and he's just like, no, that's as good as I can do. They make replicas. Just get a new replacement. I'm like, well, the guy didn't want a replica. He wanted his original magazine tube, And honestly, that the guy was just lazy at that point. It was rough. Don't misunderstand. It was rusty. It was rough. He had some work he had to do. But on something like that, you can spin that. I can spin a barrel, on a 1-inch belt or on a big belt like this. You can make a tool that holds it. We had to in school that would spin a barrel. You can also chuck a barrel up on a lathe. I know the powder and the filings are bad. Cover your rails with an oily cloth. Then when you're sanding, it'll stick to the oily cloth. You can gather it up. It's not going to wreck your lathe. And you can polish out, spin that barrel, polish it out. Just different ideas, different ways to do it. So that guy sent that magazine tube back. That was the last time we used that guy. He just, it was just late. He didn't want to do the right job. And so it was a bummer, So these are some of the techniques I use. They're not everything you can use. Again, trying to kickstart those thinking juices so you guys can figure things out and go, oh, hey, I wouldn't do it that way, Ken. I would do it this way. And you do it your way. All good. We'll catch you next time, guys.
If you want to learn real gunsmithing and see more videos like this, be sure and like and subscribe so you don't miss out. If you're interested in training to be a real gunsmith, go check out the AmericanGunsmithinginstitute.com. Or for your own firearms training, AmericanGunsmith.com.